How's it going, everybody? All right. Let's see. We got 20 people in the house. 3 p.m. New York City time, 2 p.m. A.m. I mean, 2 a.m. here in Arkansas. So let me just give you a little. Let me preface this. So this is a private session that we did on the 7th of September, and prior to that, we went into the new octahedron, um, cosmic octahedron infrastructure, the grid, the new grid. We went into a session a few days prior to that, and we were allowed to, go into the new infrastructure. And then we went in a second time, and I think we actually broadcast the first one. I can't remember everything right now. But anyway, this was our third attempt. And the first two that we went into, the new infrastructure, we went into it. This one was a little different. And I'll explain it because it's not explained on the video. So when we went to go into the new grid, the octahedron, cosmic octahedron infrastructure of the new Earth, and if you haven't seen that previous session, you might want to watch it. It was 2 or 3 days ago. So we decided to go in, and it was interesting because we stood before the octahedron infrastructure, and then we were led from it, apparently. And we were taken into the inverse of that infrastructure that was metaphorically or otherwise in the inner earth. So I'm pretty sure that might be mentioned in the session, but I just wanted to mention it just for anybody that tunes in to the replay. So I'm going to turn it on, turn the music off, and I'm just going to let it play. And I'll step back on camera and talk about it a little bit, maybe when it's over. I think it runs about 45 minutes. But it's very interesting. It has to do with shadow. It has to do with, I felt it was a very, very deep activation. My human bodies had never been so involved in an activation. So the mood of it was much different. It wasn't scary, but it was close. And it was very, very deep. It was very dense, I guess would be a word too. It felt like everything slowed down into slow motion, and like I was moving in plasma. The words were coming in a very slow fashion, and you'll see that. But I'll let it speak for itself, and I'll see you afterwards. I'm ready.
All right, so bring up your higher self and let me know when you have that essence there.
All right.
And ask permission to do this session.
Yes.
And bring up my higher self. Let me know when you have that there.
Yes.
Ask permission to do this session.
Yep.
You know, I've never done this before apart from last night, but ask, is there a third energy that needs to join us?
Yeah. It's a golden child.
Okay, can you ask that golden child what it would like us to know?
Well, it wants to take us to a golden castle.
Okay, can we ask, do we know this golden child?
Yes. It has different faces. Showed me Yeshua, Magdalene. Um, well, I guess today it's going to be what I can only describe as Cali. Do you have a question?
Yes, can we ask why she has presented, why the Kali energy has presented?
Well, they're not saying anything, but she's making an expression. She's the essence that's to escort us today, and it has something to do with the shadow. It's a whole different frequency than the last couple. Still, the castle's in the background. And basically, it said, you asked, and has many forms. But the reason she's present is because we're going to be dealing with shadow.
Okay, so let's just ask her, what would she like us to do?
She wants to take us to the castle.
Okay.
She's just escorting us to the interior of the castle. There is a throne, a golden throne, with a man on the throne with a red robe and a golden crown, a white beard, blue eyes. He has a scepter in his hand. He stands up. I ask him what his name is. He says, I'll spell it, Roan.
Is that all? ROAN.
Roan. Rowan. So he asked us to sit at there's a little alcove to the side of the throne. It's like an open room. It's a little table, looks like a picnic table. Asks us to sit down. And he sits across from us. And he has like a thin, long, piece of bread, like a miniature Italian bread, French, whatever you call it. Breaks it in half. And there's like a powder that comes out of it, and it forms on the table in front of us, the three of us. So it's it's forming, and it's turning into a kind of a dark grayish white replica of the earth. He explains that this is the 3D earth. And he takes his finger and he runs it through the powder right down the middle, north to south. He's making, two semicircles, two. And so the words bifurcate, divided. He shows like a tower, like a cell tower. It's golden on one side. And so this side is has a higher frequency, and from the tower it transmits really a light, golden white light, onto the other side. and the powder is basically, blown away, and underneath it is the earth. It looks more like the earth. It's got topography and all, and it's like like a wind has blown it, and it's continuing, and there's like a lot of dark crevices and fissures that are basically being revealed. They go very, very deep. Looks like, we're very deep beneath the surface, deeper than it is above the surface. There's I can't really see anything specific, but there's like in these which is a lot of the this that half of this earth is very like cavernous. It's the energy is very dark, putrid. He says that man, you hear that? He says that if we want to see it, it's our choice. I feel like asking him, with all respect, what's the point if there's a choice? Mm-hmm. So he's showing us that he's showing us the kind of the, I said, what's the reason for us to go see it if there's a choice? And he just shows us like the earth, like an Eden-esque earth. Like he's saying that the reason would be to take a look at this. The objective or the purpose is the new earth. I'll go. You want to go? You don't have to go.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree.
Yes.
It's very cold and very dark. We enter a pocket, like a cave. There's a woman. She's an older woman. She's petite and hunched over. She it's making me sick. She is going to speak to us. She's some type of gatekeeper. She knows everything that goes on down there. She's looking us right in the eyes. She has big green eyes. And she says that she's been positioned there or working there or overseeing lots of things. She has an expression that's she's not very attractive. She's not hideous, but she's through her eyes. Yeah. Okay. She's serving in this capacity for the same reason we do. Okay. Okay. Here we go. So she has a rectangular stone table. She lays out a she lays out she lays out a scroll, like almost the width and the length of the table, and she unfolds it. And she's explaining that this is a map of the true 3D Earth. That it's the exact opposite, even though it can't be seen. That's weird. Even though it can't be seen yet, it's the exact opposite of the. I want to make sure. Okay. It's the exact opposite of the infrastructure that that we've visited. She makes it a point to tell us that we have come to the octahedron infrastructure when we started, but the castle was a facade representing the earth, and that we've been brought down here by our choice to see what it really is, from the same perspective that we can see and experience the new infrastructure. She said that there is an offering. There is a reason that the frequency is different. It's nothing to be concerned about. And she'll get to that. She points at the it's kind of a map. She's basically showing the intricate network and the depth of that infrastructure. And she raises her hand and she says, that we will see this. And it's nothing to be afraid of. From from a human perspective, that's disempowered by the we'll just call it the 3D Earth, that it's very frightening. And that the purpose of coming here is to understand by the frequency that we're feeling, the depth of what's beneath what we've been shown. She's showing us her heart. And it's bursting open with pure white light. She explains that this has not been something that because she had a choice that she was forced to do. She had free will. She chose to do it in serving the universe. And she's an aspect of Mother Earth. And she's tired and she's ready for this to be completed. She needs those like us who have raised their frequency and who are, have reached beyond, have reached past the initiations to enter the new octahedron infrastructure. Call on these people, even though they have reached that point, will have to be exposed to the reality. And this visit is very serious. It's in preparation for us to be able to maintain ourselves and hold the light. But she says it's more than that. And it's forthcoming. She just wants to say that that this activation is in preparation for what we'll be exposed to. And that through this activation, okay. So through this activation, that we will be able to see things from the perspective and the frequencies of the new infrastructure. And that although that's true, that our our thoughts, our actions, our light, because they're part of the new infrastructure, cannot be lessened, but that the what we call the heart, the human heart, compassion, feeling, empathy, we will feel it. And it is in this place that we will generate new code on the spot, and code that will be transmitted instantly from our physical presence. That it can only be that way, that when we're observing these things, this activation will not allow us to maintain our balance and to continue to illuminate. That's already done. But that that it will allow us to transform through our pure light and our frequency, which is anchored in the octahedron infrastructure, and that it will serve two purposes. It'll serve the purpose of bringing what we might call instant healing without touch to those who have yet to enter the octahedron infrastructure, and that it will also, through that happening, both from ourselves And from those that expand in that moment, the code will be generated for the universal. She says it will be a physical transformation. And she asked us if we would like to receive this activation now. Yes.
Yes, please.
She asked us both to kneel. She stands before us and she puts her palm of her hand on our heads and she blesses us. And then she explains that this is an activation of the deepest shadows in the root chakra of the earth and of the people, that in so many words, this is the best we can do, because the cycles it's not it can't be delayed anymore. So the idea is to have as much ease and grace for everyone. But this will be a bit difficult for some people that haven't entered the octahedron infrastructure, and that it's going to be felt in the heart, and that these souls like us, and she says there's many, are positioned around the world in basically strategic points, and that the positioning is near complete. And she sings. And she shows us the heart, her heart, as a human heart. And she says this is the heart of what you know as Mother Gaia, as the earth. And she shows us its connection, just as we are, through the cosmic crown. And she reveals her she reveals herself, ancient, thanks, the mother. there's one more thing. She says that she goes around to the other side, and she has a goblet like a grail. It's just like the Holy Grail. It's jeweled. It has a liquid in it. We stand on the opposite side, and she says that it's bottomless. It's infinite. Her love is infinite. She says there's nothing to be frightened about, that all will see, just as souls that have transitioned, when they look back at the earth after they come back into formlessness, that everyone will see the beauty and perfection of our journey here on earth, and that this activation will allow us to see these things as we're exposed to them in that perfection while we're still incarnated, us and those like us that are placed at these points around the earth. She asks us to approach her. She offers the grill, and take it in our hands together. It's very large, so we can drink from it together. It's water. It's light in physical form. It's the purest of the pure. And she's very grateful. She's very moved. She's been waiting a long time, and she's gotten tired like many of us. And she sings. And she says, she says a lot. So she says something like, you know now that you are truly a divine union. And your work, your journey has been my own. She says, I'm very proud of you. And I thank you for coming. And it's something like, this is what it took. It was the only way. She says that you've come from so far away and labored for so long. Those like you, she says there's no hierarchy, but that this divine union frequency that's anchored, is truly anchored now, and it is heaven on earth, as we call it. And she seems to be saying that we are just now really understanding, even though we have a lot more that we'll understand, that just how deep we go, and it will continue to come back to us. And then finally, she shows like an illuminated circle that's between us, the three of us. And she shows us that this is, like looking at the earth. Shows us walking, holding hands onto the undisturbed earth. She says, just like the story of Adam and Eve. She says there is a new earth, and that you are walking in both worlds. This was your agreement. You were agreed to do this together, to serve and to assist people at this point that she described in regard to the activation. She says, I love you. And that's it.
So it is done.
Yes, we've left her.
Okay, so we're thanking our higher selves now.
So we ended up leaving, and I cut it off because when we left, Morgan had some questions of her higher self, and I feel like that's probably private, but there's part of it that was very helpful, because it was a very and I don't mean dense in a bad way. I just mean it was like we both talked about it after she had the episode she had the day after this evening session that she wrote about. If you haven't seen it on her page, it's very interesting. But we both talked about it, and it felt like we were moving in a plasma. So instead of it, being air, it was very much like a plasma, which is really kind of indicative of the whole thing: the speaking, the receiving, the movement, dense for purposes of really feeling it, which is, if you read her post, is how she explains it, and how she explained it to me is that something was pushing on her, merging with her. She seemed to be, if you noticed on the video, having a bit of trouble staying awake. I think she talked about it in the post. And it's a good thing. It's a great thing. And it's a necessary thing. Now, when her higher self was asked some questions, Morgan was looking for some clarity. And so her higher self then spoke to me. And because we walked out of that cavernous inner earth through the castle back out onto the path, and in front of us was the new octahedron infrastructure. And so, but before we started to walk any further, she said, "I've got some questions. Can you ask my higher self?" So, what the higher self, her higher self, did was give us some clarity, but it was a little more fluid. It was still, there was still the residual of the plasma energy with us. But she was able to bring some clarity because she explained things, I would say, on more layman's terms. But a couple of things that she clarified, and I think probably the most important one, was that she wanted us to understand that this activation was not so much for the purpose of if and when we're presented with, let's say, catastrophes, and could be, famine, could be earthquake, could be whatever. She said that although that applies, that the real purpose was in the now moment, not sometime down the road, but in the now moment. So as we interact with others, and as we are presented with situations and events on a smaller scale in our field closest to us in the conscious human state, that the perspective given through the activation and through the raising of the frequency, and with that, the accessibility to the new octahedron infrastructure, that we would be able to see the reality and the perfection of those things that, for instance, have given us charges or triggered us. The easiest way for me to explain it, Morgan and I talked about it, was Morgan, a few years ago when I met her, she talked to me, and she's written a post on it before, about that Jesus didn't heal anybody, that Jesus provided a reflection of the true self, and that in itself, as it was received by that person that so to speak, needed the healing, that then brought the alignment. So this kind of works the same way, in that in this frequency we'll be able to journey on moment by moment, and in each moment be able to see the perfection of what we're looking at. And in most cases, it's going to be people. So it's going to be, I'm not going to say it's going to be effortless by what we received, but it is turned on, and there'll be less of an effort consciously because it will become the norm. But the frequency holders, not to create any separation frequency in this comment, are where it starts. And I believe it's many of us. And so what will happen is we're like transmitters. And as the distortion gets a bit louder, be it in a given one-on-one interaction or on a wider scale, because of the perspective we have from the higher frequency, this octahedron infrastructure, that we'll be able to not just maintain ourselves, but to illuminate this new frequency. And as a result of the distortion getting louder for those who have may not reached the frequency yet. Remember, there's no linear time. They're going to be more apt, as we all have been, to look for something else, because nothing that we've used has, or nothing that we've utilized has worked. So really, it's obviously a metaphor, I would imagine, to a great extent, but it also, as I said before, was the only time I've ever done an activation where the body was that involved. And even watching it now, my heart picking up its pace, and there's energy flowing through my body. It's all good. It was just a very profound and deep, somewhat energetically dense, but not in a bad way, just in a thick way. And I think even the way she described it in her post, and the way she described it to me, her experience, and that I viewed as she talked about in the post when we were connecting yesterday, it had to be slow. It had to permeate through all of the essence, and in a true merging, just in a different way than many of us have experienced in Dimension. So we felt like after she put the post up, and with the response people had, and with the way the intel is moving so rapidly, processing moving rapidly, and things changing rapidly, that we thought it would be a good idea to share this, knowing that, as our beautiful friend Gabriella said today on the show, knowing that it was Christina Strutt, that the real message is in the in-between. So less emphasis on the actual verbiage, more emphasis on the energy in between, which is, as I understand it, the 13th, the Mother Goddess energy, as our sister concurred with us today, or through her comments. So a little bit different. We share it with an open heart. We're here to collaborate and co-create, and just continue to put it out there. We've got nothing to lose, any of us. We know this. We've got nothing to lose if we try, in terms of what we can create together, unless we don't try. So hats off, big props to everybody who puts it out there. And I don't just mean on camera or a post or in writing, but in your individual journey, as you take in full measure the great divide that's within all of us, as these identities fall one by one. And based on the post and the energy in the communities that I'm seeing out there, and I'm sure you're seeing out there, there's more and more of a convergence of what people are feeling. And it's quite amazing, even though the stories sound a little bit different, but you can feel the energy. We're in this thing, and it's quite exciting, because I think the progress we've made, it looks like we have far surpassed anybody's predictions, prognostications. So we'll see you tomorrow. We've got one or two, three shows. I'm not quite sure. I think we've got Melissa Dehan and Robert Snedden coming on. Interesting story. I think a lot of people know about it, and it'll be nice to, after going through this heavy one, which is all good. It'd be nice to be in that atmosphere. If anyone's seen pictures of the two of them, it's pretty amazing. I don't think they have to say anything. They can just come on camera and stare at us. So I wish you all a good night, good morning, whatever it may be. And I see you in a few hours, and we'll get started again.